but the Clintons fucking hate the media, and probably with a lot of good reason. But she just wasn't good at stoking it. She wasn't good at making them the enemy. She just sounded whiny.
I will say the one thing I'm very enchanted by is how Bernie, as the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, which is not a big city by any means, operated a foreign policy shop.
There are Burlington coat factories that are bigger than the city of Burlington.
It's like no, it's like if like some Trotskyist was running for county coroner or recorder of deeds, and their campaign page was just 50 pages about Syria.
I mean, that's the future. Think about just all the online disputes about Syria. People are just going to freak out and run for city council in like Waukegan, Illinois. But it is nice because the only time you see a local politician talk about Israel is when someone's running for Queens County DA, and he's like, I want to make it illegal to like the BDS page on Facebook. So,
no, but like
it's neither here nor there. I can't imagine how much sway the mayor of Burlington had.
But Felix,
but it is nice that he had a good position on it.
Yeah, no, I mean, he still does. But like Felix, like to your point about like, I cannot take journalists jerking each other off.
Oh God, yeah.
It's just the way they close ranks, because it's like all the actual journalists who I actually like and respect are loathed in their profession. Like
you should be.
Are fucking
they say the N-word all the time.
They're pariahs, or they're considered has-beens, or like they're just not taken seriously. Whereas like, this person, sorry, Sydney Ember, I mean, you wrote the piece, so and then everyone had to come out and be like, close ranks around you. I mean, it's just like, is it conceivable that there's someone who works in the New York Times who's maybe like not the most talented, brightest kid in the world?
Or, I mean, maybe they fucked up. People fuck up at their jobs. It's like it's weird to me that journalists have so much trouble like admitting like maybe they kind of fucked up on this story like in the moment. I get everyone's super defensive all the time.
She didn't fuck up on the story because this is like her job. The New York Times as an institution is hostile to the left generally and Bernie Sanders specifically.
Yeah.
And like you can see evidence of that every day, whether obviously on the op-ed and editorial section, but certainly in the way they cover his campaign or any issue surrounding it.
And it's the function of this whole entire professional managerial class to close ranks and to enforce these norms of civility in order to police the discourse.
Even though everyone got mad at Bernie for being rude or whatever, but he did that because he realized and he wanted to underline the absurd obscenity of focusing on, well, yes, we were illegally mining this country's harbor. We were funding this squad of psychopaths to rape and bomb their citizens at will. But these guys, they said mean things about us, and you were there. Focusing on that is such an intentional, like, lobotomizing of yourself. Yeah, I'm going to take this issue, and I'm going to intentionally focus on the least important part of it in order specifically to obscure the broader reality, which is the U.S. was committing massive fucking war crimes as an effort to undermine the government of this country. Yeah. And he was like, I'm not going to fucking answer your stupid fucking question about how I feel. Should I have left? And as soon if he played by the rules, he would be on her terms, the terms of the correctness of those people saying that thing at that rally and not raping nuns and blowing up fucking hospitals.
And in that moment, he identified his enemy.
Yes.
Yeah, and sorry to Mrs. Ember and Alexander Burns, but like here is a paragraph in the article that you wrote. Quote, Contra atrocities appalled the American left, but Mr. Ortega's forces were also implicated in grave human rights abuses, including the killing and forced relocation of civilians. That does not withstand even the barest scrutiny now or then at the time when any serious international observers or even the American State Department were unable to verify any of those claims.
Yeah.
At least, and whereas at the time the Contra's atrocities were extremely well documented because they were doing them.
Yes. And we sure as shit knew what they were doing.
And sorry, this was like, I guess, like the nut graph where she goes, Mr. Sanders' deep-rooted foreign policy values have the potential not only to earn him support from voters who have grown tired of overseas wars, but also make him vulnerable to attacks from rivals in both parties who are eager to depict him as too radical for the presidency.
So it's a horse race shot.
Yeah, they're covering like the war crimes of the 1980s, not that long ago, through this horse race lens, which is deeply offensive. But also it says, Now, as he competes for the Democratic presidential nomination, Mr. Sanders' profound skepticism of American power appears to set him apart from other major candidates who have pledged to restore the country's traditionally assertive global role. So I say, good. If the other Democratic presidential nominees want to assert America's traditionally fucking proactive stance in the world, then fucking let them do that, and let them do it loudly and clearly now.
Yeah. Also, that's the classic fake dichotomy that they always present, where you're either this head in the sand isolationist or you are doing the global role. As opposed, I mean, if we're going to fix or come close to ameliorating any of the massive environmental crises that are currently racking the earth, it's going to require American leadership, if only because we're one of the largest economies in the world and one of the biggest fucking carbon emitters, and we're going to have some sort of international framework for fixing any of this stuff. Also trade. I mean, we're creating like international standards for labor that are going to, make it possible for people to not be hyper exploited and to create like the cratering out of industrial bases in places like the Midwest. That's all going to require international cooperation. The United States is, by its nature of its size, going to be a leader of that, but that is not cruise missiles. It's not fucking. It's not funding death squads. It's not invading countries, and that doesn't count as international cooperation. It doesn't count as diplomacy because it's not in the context. Assertive. It's not in the context of American empire.
Well, that whole thing of like the global role thing, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of that for maybe the rest of our lifetimes, because doesn't it seem to you in the past few years that the American empire is maybe more inept than ever, less feared?
Well, I mean, if you look at like we talked about it with Hassan, but the ham-fisted attempt to start a war with Iran has been
and
laughable.
Venezuela has been oafish.
And
when they couldn't get Assad out, that was really the sign that like the old magic was going away.
A few years ago, we would have fucking knocked all these guys off, and half of them we wouldn't have found out we did it until like 10 years later.
We're basically a Pescian casino, and they're like, it took them 5 shots to knock them down. You used to be able to do it with one.
Yeah.
Take this Maduro and stuff it up your sister's head.
Yeah. So, I mean, generally you would think it's a good thing if we're less deadly on the foreign stage, but my fear is that with any, not less deadly, but less effective, but generally, like when an empire is less capable than it used to be.
It's like an injured animal,
Exactly.
It can like just flail out in increasingly insane and suicidal ways, like as they lose their punch or whatever.
Now the scary thing is, if the liberal side of that is, we also want to do that. We also want to lash out, but smartly and speaking 6 languages.
Right. So Buttigieg or whatever,
Right.
and Seth Moulton now, who wants to have a national service program. Again,
Well, to be fair to Moulton, I don't think he meant like I think he meant like
he didn't mean a draft, but he meant serve the country in some way,
right? Like,
militarily or otherwise.
Center,
and then you get a tax credit. You get a write-off.
I mean, it's the most Seth Moulton program. It's the most,
which is funny to me because
bullshit,
it's what it's modeled after. The Civilian Conservation Corps is not a bad program exactly, and what we actually do need is a federal jobs guarantee, which this is just a bad, dumb version of that.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's what you'll end up doing is, building a public-private fucking Peloton. Is that the new spin class for rich people?
Yeah.
You'll build a public-private Peloton studio. Yeah.
And you'll get a tax credit for using it.
Yeah, exactly.
I do want to say one last thing about Bernie, though. This whole foreign policy stuff. If it's going to be covered in a horse race lens, I'll give a horse race answer. It's not. None of this is a liability for him because that is not 80s foreign policy in Central America is not remotely a salient issue that anyone cares about. And what do you think would be worse? His responses to that interview, where he reaffirmed his position, was like, what the fuck are you talking about, and took control of his own framing, or someone groveling and apologizing and like which I imagine most of the Democratic field would do if they're in that position.
I mean, the thing is, this portends well for him because it means that sort of more establishment forces do think that Americans care a lot more about foreign policy than they actually do.
I mean, seriously, like people don't care about foreign policy that's happening now. They sure as shit don't care about stuff from 30 years ago.
Do you think any American knows what's going on?
I mean, if you, the likely, he's more likely to lose a voter who heard of this story and got mad because they thought he didn't like the Nintendo game.
Damn.
Than is like actually pissed about Daniel Ortega.
I mean, I shouldn't be giving them ideas, but you really want to rat fuck him and just be like, yo, I heard he's trying to make Rick and Morty illegal.
Wait, okay, one last hit on Bernie from the campaign trail. I really enjoyed. Did you guys see from earlier this week all of the like the wine mom libs going like absolutely insane because Bernie was photographed with that guy holding a piece of fried chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things where like they think they're like, ooh, we got him, but like it's just another example of all these like rich white liberals just completely telling on themselves, like in hilarious ways. Because it's just like, wait, why is this picture offensive? And they can't answer that without completely telling on themselves. Because it was like, here was a guy who's like, he was there to support his business and like wanted his picture taken. He's like, yeah, this is the food I sell and create. I'd like to people
look
to
delicious.
It's like the Dave Chappelle bit about like racists and fried chicken. He's like, if you don't like fried chicken, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck doesn't like fried chicken?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But like, yeah, they were so angry
What was
about
Bernie
that.
supposed to just like hold up
Just
a clump,
slap-
like a clump?
Slap it away. Just slap it away. No.
Or you
Stop
just-
promoting stereotypes.
Yeah, he was supposed to pick up just a clump of like beans and rice instead. Oh, there's no stereotype behind this.
Should we do plugs?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, we haven't talked about Biden yet. Boom! Boom! King!
That is a fucking kill shot.
If,
it's-
375 headshot,
it's
pussy.
too easy. It's too easy.
if you live in the UK,
We are not implying that we will want to headshot any presidential candidate. We're simply pointing out the similarities to my feats I accomplish in video games to the quickness of my one-liner.
If you live in the UK and you want an evening of entertainment, an evening with the Chapos, there are still tickets available for our shows in Glasgow, Manchester, and we've added a second show in London. Some
Tickets
of those are
available
going
to
fast.
the early show. Yeah.
Is it the early show or the late show?
It's the early show that there are tickets still available
Okey-doke.
for. And then Glasgow in Scotland and Manchester in the north.
Manchester.
Those tickets, you can find them at chapotraphouse.com/tour. Just click the image and it's fine. It's fine. You'll figure it out.
Yeah,
It's good.
you're smart people.
And I do want to say one thing though. I don't want to set a bad example for our audience, for our listeners here. If you come to our live show, please do not be disruptive or give your commentary. But I will say, unless you are a fellow podcaster, in which case you are a basically a veteran and a member of a protected class. Also, you know what? You can vape wherever you want.
Yeah, we don't give a
That's not a
shit.
crime.
Yeah.
Not a crime.
If you're from the sensation Blairite podcast, Nigel Save Britain, we're not going to do you dirty. You can yell whatever you want. You still podcast.
I mean, if there was a British version of that show, the fucking title would at least make sense.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, they would just do
now
the-
we're talking. You
they-
fucking idiots.
They would just do the reverse. It would be like Nigel bless the UK.
Queen.
They would fuck it up
pod.
somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
But-
dare they have a podcast title that doesn't make sense? Signing off from the politics podcast, Chapo Trap House.
You know what, dude? You're honestly fucking pathetic. You fucking
Yo, Chris,